has been an Austin resident for 47 years. She's a UT Austin alumni, licensed master social worker. She enjoys serving others, especially seniors and individuals who are homebound. She is a radio talk show host on KAZI 88.7 FM in Austin, Texas, which has a global reach. Melanie Stansel Nash has volunteered as an Alzheimer's Associate Capital of Texas chapter community educator and faith outreach representative for the past 3.5 years. She's on a mission to educate her community about the various types and warning signs of Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. As a member of the health and wellness team at St. James Community Missionary Baptist Church, Melanie serves as an information resource, community educator, and support group facilitator. Ms. Nash knows the struggles of being sandwiched between caring for 4 teenage children plus 2 miniature schnauzers and 1 husband, and her father, who had the double diagnosis of Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia. Mary Curse Ashford is a retiree who works in the field of education for 30 years. Upon graduation, she began her teaching career with Austin ISD. She left Austin ISD and became the Alumni Affairs Director of Houston Tillotson University for 13 years. She returned to Austin ISD and for the next 10 years worked as a librarian for Gus Garcia Middle School. Please, I'm going to hand it off now.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I am running late. I have to apologize for that. Welcome, ladies, and thank you for being here. And for everyone who is at the conference, thank you and welcome. We are just going to go into a Q&A. Or is there anything that you all would like to kind of discuss before we get into Q&A?
We would just like to say thank you for being here for this invitation. This presentation is brought to you by the Capital of Texas Area Alzheimer's Association. We are all community educators, and we are also community-based educators out of the St. James Missionary Baptist Church. That is our hub, but we do provide community reach. So everyone is invited to participate in all of our educational and support group opportunities. So if you have not signed in, please do sign in and sign up before you leave today. We have information for everyone. Thank you.
No, we can start with the questions, whatever you want to do. Sounds good. So I just want to give the audience a little bit of what to do next. If you do have any questions, feel free to grab that mic. This is a recorded session, and so we want to make sure that everyone, even virtually, is able to hear your wonderful question. Sounds good? And at the same time, I will be passing this back and forth off to you all. You know what? Let's have you keep this mic. I will grab that mic, and then you guys can stay seated. How about that? Because I need to get my walk in anyway. Okay, we'll do that. Excellent. So if you do have a question, I do have some prompted questions as well, but we love to hear from the audience, right? I was going to say amen. I will go that way. If you have a question, just raise your hand. I'm on my way to you.
I have a question or a comment. Just want to note that this is Black History Month, and want to note that the first African American psychiatrist was Solomon Carter Ford, who helped do the research and the identity.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. All right, so we do have questions. Again, if you do have a question, raise your hand high so I can see it. and I will get straight to you. First question I have is, help us understand Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's. What is caused? Can you share some data about its occurrences in the Black community? Melanie, can you answer that for me?
Absolutely. So Alzheimer's is a degenerative brain disease, and it is a form of dementia. So dementia is the umbrella term, and there are several forms of dementia. Alzheimer's is the most commonly diagnosed form, with 65 to 80% of all dementia diagnoses being Alzheimer's. There are other types of dementia, as you may have mentioned in or may have heard in my piece, that my father was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. There's also vascular dementia. So there are different types of dementias, but Alzheimer's is the most commonly diagnosed dementia. So we hear a lot about Alzheimer's. The Alzheimer's Association is making a very a deep effort to advertise that they are in support of curing Alzheimer's and all other dementias. So for the Black community specifically, there are about 6 million Americans currently living with that disease, and that number is expected to triple at least by 2030 and again expand by 2050. And as Black Americans, we are twice as likely to be diagnosed with the disease in comparison to our white counterparts. So I know your next question is, why is that? So one of the things that the researchers have found is that there is, or there does seem to be, a great correlation between heart health and brain health. So anything that your cardiologist may recommend for strong heart health, controlled diet, exercise, things of that nature also correlate to good brain health, because without good heart flow, which carries blood to the brain, then there is that correlation and that link. Because with the degenerative brain disease of Alzheimer's, there is the formation of those what's called plaques and tangles in the brain. There is also, seems to be found, a high sugar diet that can also help form more plaques and tangles in the brain. So watching your carb load, your sugar load, high cholesterol. And as we know, in the Black community or African American community, we unfortunately lead the way in some of these diagnoses of high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease. So anything that we can do to control those factors will help with the brain disease spectrum as well.
Thank you so much, Melanie. And then, Deborah, can you tell us what are the signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's disease?
Yes. Well, we passed a card out that has the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's. And if you notice any of these signs in yourself or someone else, take action. And we're not going to go through all of them at the same time. As we speak, we will weave them in. We're going to start with 2 of them. Memory loss that disrupts daily life. Example, forgetting recently learned information. For example, if a person just ate breakfast and you're talking to them and you said, okay, how you doing? What did you have for breakfast this morning? It may have been 30 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, even 5 minutes ago, and they cannot tell you what they had for breakfast. But they can tell you what they did in 3rd grade, but they can't tell you what they had for breakfast. For example, if your memory is disrupted and you can track your steps and find what you lost, you do not have Alzheimer's. Because many of us, oh, where are my keys? I'm real good with, my keys. Or, where is my purse or my glasses? And if you can track your steps back and trace that, okay, the last time I had them, I was reading my book and I had them on side of my bed, and you find them, that's great. But when you don't find them and you never find them, that's a concern, and you find yourself buying more glasses and buying another pair of glasses or losing them all of the time.
You're
Well,
good.
You're good. You're good. But my mom used to have hers on top of her head all of the time. And she said, where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? And mom, they're on your head. So the second sign is challenges in planning or solving problems. The example here is having trouble keeping track of monthly bills. And you know, that's something that we normally keep track of because the 30 days comes around pretty quickly. And we'll know when we've missed something or it'll be turned off. And we'll know that, oh, I forgot to pay the cable bill or something of that sort. But when you don't, and a family member comes over and notices that a lot of things are just not the way they should be, and they'll learn that, oh my goodness, they'll see bank statements coming in with a lot of uh, bad statements to where you've got checks that are bounced. It's because you didn't pay them, you didn't remember to pay them. So what's happening? The bank is deducting money all of the time and you're not paying attention to it because you don't know anymore. So a family member comes over and realizes that, oh my goodness, all these bills are stacked up, the mail is stacked up and you haven't gone through it. These are little signs that sometimes we don't pay attention to because sometimes people may just have a habit of not checking their mail all the time. Some people have stacks of mail. But when it just gets to where the bills and things are not being cared for, then that's the time to kind of think about, you know, there's something going on here. So those are the first two signs.
Thank you, Deborah. Now, I know that, thank you so much. I know that as a person continues to kind of experience Alzheimer's, it's degenerative or, you know, it's something to where it doesn't happen all at once. And it's really hard to see the little increments, you know, that take place. So, Mary, would you share what should one expect with the progression of the disease?
Pain. Well, I can give a personal testimony. My husband suffered with dementia, and there's different types. It doesn't affect everybody in the same way, like she said. I mean, it affects everybody differently. My husband, it just came on suddenly. I was still working, teaching, and he would just call me constantly all day. Mary, I don't mean to bother you, blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't pay any attention, but I knew something was wrong because he loved to cook, and I would get home and he would have prepared dinner, but it wasn't seasoned. No, I mean, and that's unusual because he did that for years and years. It had no taste. I didn't think nothing about that. I just went on about my little merry business. Those of you that know me, I'm a busybody. And so little things began to take shape. He would lose his keys and he couldn't find them, or he blamed me for things. A couple of insurance policies were canceled because he wasn't paying. And ladies, I want to say, if you're married, make sure you know everything. Don't depend on hubby for everything. I was in that boat and I was up the creek because I didn't know. And next thing I knew, insurance was canceled and a whole lot of things. So that's the progression of things that you don't know because life goes on and you think he's okay, but they're not okay. So you need to just be aware of things that are slowly going on. You know, anger, they lose their temper easily. So there's things that I could go on, but I don't know if you want to hear my whole story, but I can't. So, but there's definitely health changes. They forget how to put their clothes on. They forget how to brush their teeth. They forget how to just do everything, you know, to basically dress. You know, I put his shoes on, I put his socks on. Gradually, things just take over time, not right away, but over time, things begin to change. And you notice that they're changing. So it's kind of hard, but it comes on and you don't want to really pay attention to it because you're in denial. You don't think anything is wrong. So the warning signs, like she said, there's these cards, you need to pay attention to things. As I said on here, my husband forgot how to write his name. He couldn't sign it. He couldn't do anything like that. I mean, it just happens over you going about your business and you think things are okay, but they're not. And you'll know, I can't sit here and say, I can only say about my experience, but you will know something is wrong with your family, your mother, daughter, husband, you will know.
I just, I just want to the points that she was making in her story, in her testimony, in her story, it brings up several things, right? Is that we can look back, like hindsight's 2020, right? But we tell these stories for the benefit of youth, is that if you see any of these signs in yourself or in your loved one, this is how it starts. And so these are things not to be taken lightly, because the ramifications are severe. Because, so what do you do if you see these signs? Get to the doctor quickly. Start keeping a journal, a log, because we also know that there's disparities in healthcare. That the first time you go, the doctor may say, oh, that's just you're just getting old, or whatever it might be. But if you keep a log, and that on this day, he missed the turn. My dad, been going to the same church for 50 years. He missed the turn to the church. Didn't know how to get home. Got lost in the neighborhood on this day. Write all of these things down so that you can say something is wrong and here's why. So sometimes we know we have to be our own best advocate to your own doctor, but that's how it has to be sometimes in our community. And like she said, the legal issues that come with that, no longer being able to write your name, that speaks to the fact of that there is a point of no return. Because if the person can no longer notarize, or if they're not able to understand anymore what's going on, then they can't get that legal policy back. So those legal issues start to creep in. So you have to be an early advocate for yourself or for the person who's exhibiting these symptoms.
Thank you so much. We do have a question from the audience, but the one thing that I really honed in on is you saying to keep a journal. That's not only for the doctors, that's for us. Yeah. And that's for the person that is experiencing all this to really say, yeah, this really is real. Happen. Yeah. We have a question, two questions from the audience. So some of the things that you guys are talking about are later. What are some of the early signs? It's beginning to write your name with a whole lot that happens before you get to that. So I wanted to know if you could be some of the early symptoms, because we all start to lose weight.
Yeah, well, I can say it.
There's some other summer and before you answer that question for our virtual family, so they can hear, what are the early signs, the pre stuff that can happen right before that that time that you can't
Well, I think we all have some examples that we can share, but what she's speaking of is that MCI, or mild cognitive impairment stage, leading up to the early onset of Alzheimer's. And if we were to take this list of the 10 warning signs, so that would be anything that's beginning to disrupt your daily life, right? So one example that I have is if you're having trouble consistently recalling names of people or objects. So this is, what is this? A laptop. So I remember I was visiting my aunt, and I had my laptop, and she used to work for IBM. So if anyone knows what a laptop is, she would know, but she could not think of the term laptop. It was the tray with keys. So if you're having having that recall issue of what is that thing, or recalling names. you know, I can't remember your name, but when you walk in the door, I swear that's Sally didn't we go to Prairie View together? You know, so recalling, you know, or someone becomes someone that from another generation. So those some of the early signs.
And when your husband can't remember your name, that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate. My husband was the treasurer for our church for years and years. And as the treasurer, you have to be the one to unlock the safe. And he couldn't remember how to open it. And they finally told me something is wrong with you. I was in denial. And someone came up to me at the church and said, Mary, something is wrong with your husband. He can't remember. And he was the treasurer for our church for 30 years. So those early warning signs, there are a lot of, things like that. But when they can't remember your name, when you're with the doctor, then you know something is wrong.
And some of the early signs that I see with my sister, and for us, we were just devastated because she was like a mother to us. And certain people have different, as we mentioned, different things that happen with them. The personality changes. That's one of the things that I see early on. My sister, she was always real sharp and quick and witty. And now when you look at her or you talk to her, she's searching for her words, or she gets confused easily. And the other thing about her, she gets easily agitated, and she did not get easily agitated, not at all. And now we'll say something to her and she thinks that we're picking on her. And we'll ask her to, one of the things that we ask her is, we wanted her to see a doctor because we noticed something was going on with her. She just had a lot of changes, just totally changed. She didn't go out much anymore. And that was one of the things that she always did. She would always go out with her friends. She didn't want to do that anymore. She would stay in the bed all day. She would not, she wouldn't change her clothes. That was just a total different person who we were seeing. And even now, when we try to talk to her about it, she pushes us off, or she'll tell us, no, you need to see the doctor. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need to see the doctor. So that's one of the things that I have seen in my sister as some early stuff with her, that she's changing, her personality's changing, her daily routine has changed. And she's just a different person. She's in San Antonio. I'm here, so I don't see her every day. But when I talk to her on the phone, the conversation is also very different.
So those changes that she was referencing are like number 9 and number 10 on the handout that we gave you, those withdrawal from work or social activities. So if a person goes from being a social butterfly and now they no longer want to go to the family reunion because they're afraid, they don't want to be engaged anymore because they're afraid that they don't remember everybody's name, and they don't want to be in that situation where they're going to have to recall people's names, and they already know that they can't remember everybody's name. And so they know that they're going to be in a difficult situation. So for them, they'd rather just not go or withdraw from the situation. They used to be at church every Sunday, and now they don't have the desire. So if they seem to want to withdraw from things that they love to do, that's an early sign, right? That they're withdrawing. And then, like she said, the change in the mood or personality. Those are some of those early signs. So there's not one thing, but you can, I'm sorry, start to be, keep that journal, like we said.
And I've seen a lot of cases where working in geriatric sites, as far as special ed, we have like even 40-year-olds sometimes signs that come in the shower. Sometimes put them inside the shower, they're terrified to be washed up. And it's good when you have family there.
check on your loved ones in hospital, but it's not just like, they don't have to be elders, be 40 years old. That's, and I had a patient before who every male in the family, his dad, his uncle, they all had it. So it's scary because he had a 20-year-old son. So his 20-year-old son pretty much will probably be in that same boat. So it's really amazing to mind what kind of stuff can happen. And I just think we have to all be kind. We have to remember we start off with babies and we end up back there. So you guys want to be kind and look out for each other because eventually we're all going to age.
I think it is hereditary. Let me say this. My husband's two sisters died from it, and now he has another sister with it. So it runs in their family. So it's kind of a hereditary disease. So yeah, you're right. I would say that we as African Americans, we tend to want to keep everybody at home. But if you can get help, you need help. It is not an easy job taking care of someone by yourself. You need to, I was fortunate that I had some help, but it's never enough help, and if you can help not put them in a nursing home, that's a good thing. But you need help because you're going to be, they resort back to babies. You basically take care of them 24/7. Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Yes.
So is there, is,
Question real quick for our virtual audience.
Okay.
What this young lady is saying is that it's a wonderful experience to hear that they're saying, do you remember? Or you remember us talking, or that was one of the signs and things like that. So as a community, how do we have that conversation? What is that conversation?
so are you her friend or are you family? You're her friend? So as a friend, she may be receptive to you as her friend to ask her, have you noticed that you are repeating, and have you thought about going to the doctor about this situation? And if she has children, have they noticed? Because she will need additional help. I mean, it's not a question of if, it's, yeah, just when. So they need to be aware of this as well. And it's great that we are all here engaging in this conference and in this information, because we all know that within family structures and dynamics, and even with friends, sometimes it's the friend who can get through versus the child, because a lot of times mother or father don't want to hear this type of thing from a child, but it could be from a trusted friend, or a neighbor or a family member. So you might be the one who might be able to urge her to seek medical attention. So I would try, because that's all you can do is try, and then also alert her family if they are not aware. Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Yes. So that brings so I want to address a couple things. So thank you, sir, for your statement. And Mary had mentioned that genetics plays a part. So yes, the number one factors or some of the factors in dementia and Alzheimer's, age is number one. So once you hit, it's 1 in 3 over 85 are likely to have it. Genetics plays a part. Women are more likely. They think that might have to do with stress levels. And then we also talked about African Americans. And of course, we know the stress that we are under just from daily living. Do we get out of the car, hands up, hands down, hands out, hands on, all of that. So we know the stress level, and it's 1.5 times more for Hispanics to be diagnosed as well. So Black and brown. So there's just all sorts of disparities. And then, so what can we do as a community for those who are diagnosed? So we all hear the saying, my thoughts and prayers are with you. Call me if you need me. How about my thoughts and prayers are with you? I have an hour on Tuesday. Is that enough time for you to take a bath or go to CVS and refill prescription? Or Mr. Johnny seems to be okay if I sit with him, for a couple of hours on Saturday afternoon, and that would allow you some time as a caregiver to go and run some errands. And so let's kind of change our thinking to some action-oriented things. Or if you're a good cook, how about I'll bring you dinner? Because Alzheimer's is becoming the most expensive disease. Why? Because the person with Alzheimer's cannot be left alone. You can't turn your back for a second because one, they might wander. So thank you for those of you who acknowledged the article that I had posted in this section, because next thing you know, they'll be in the next county. They can no longer drive. That's a whole nother topic. And stoves are dangerous. So they're just things that they cannot be left alone. So there are things that we have to, as decent human beings, that we really need to think about, what can I do to be of service to my neighbor? Because, with other diseases, you can take some medication and still kind of manage yourself, right? Yes. Oh. It's Alzheimer's. There is a Z in there, so I'm not a speech expert or language but it is named after, is it Eloise? So we actually have Faith Lane, who is the program director for Alzheimer's. So we should defer to her. So how do you? Yeah, so it was there was a Alois Alzheimer's, and he found the, yes. So that brings us to another point about, we are trying to, dispel some of those old timers, myths. Uncle Johnny's not in the back room. I think
Some people even call it old timers. You'll hear that a lot too. And that's what the reference is really to Alzheimer's, but they'll say old timers. Yeah. Also, when you mention about how can you help your friend, take your friend to places where she used to go, things that she enjoys, things that she likes to do. There was a movie called Remembering Alice, and they always helped Alice to be Alice. So if your friend's name is Linda, help Linda be Linda. If Linda liked to go play bingo, go with her to play bingo. If she liked to go to the park, take her to the park. She liked to watch movies, take her to watch movies. So help her be who she always was.
What was the question? Say yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And drug interactions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you had your hand up?
Yeah. Okay. I do have some questions that were online. The question is, what can I do to prepare my family? What can I do to prepare my family?
I'll let you answer.
Yeah, that's, but I don't know for what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you've been, so yes, stress and also drug interaction, a lot of things can mimic Alzheimer's. So that's why it's important to go see your doctor so that you can get a proper diagnosis. Because I just personally, I take a drug for migraine headaches. And after you take it for a while, I was starting to lose memory. And I went to see my doctor and told her, and she said, "Oh, so she was like, yeah, you've been on this for 5 years." She's like, "Most people come to me in about year 3 complaining of that." I was like, "What?" And I've been on it for 5. So she was waiting on me to to claim the memory loss. So that's why you go see your doctor. But to prepare yourself, if you've been diagnosed and you want to prepare your family, get your legal documents done. So get your healthcare advocate, get your durable power of attorney, get your will or trust, get your documents done, because as Ms. Mary alluded to, we know this is a degenerative disease. So if you don't have all of that in place beforehand, and also designate what you have and who it's going to now, and make plans if there is a group of sisters and brothers that if the one who lives down the street is going to be the primary caregiver, what do they get? Because we see this all the time. Well, when it's time to sell the house, well, I took care of mama all this time. I should get 2/3 and y'all get the third. So you have to do all of that thinking beforehand, right? So get your legal documents prepared ahead of time. So, but we all know we could walk out of this conference today and be in some fatality. So no matter what the effort is, get your legal documents in order. Durable power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, HIPAA agreement, and the healthcare documentation.
I was going to say that was exactly what I sort of do. I have a son and a daughter, and so I called them together and we had a conference because I knew what was going on. And my son, who is an attorney, we got everything in order. We got his name on all of the accounts, everything. You will know when it's time to start doing things, and that way you don't have any problems. The only thing now is, and I'm just being so personal, we are putting their name on our house. So my son is coming this weekend, as a matter of fact, to do that, because that was the form my husband was going to sign and he couldn't sign it. And so now we're having to get it notarized and et cetera. So you have to get things when you first, like your friend, they need to start looking at things right now. Everything, like she said, you need a will, you just need everything, everything. You don't take nothing for granted until the very last minute. You need to do it once it begins, and that's what we were fortunate to do. My son's name is on everything now, and I think I'm good to go, but it was rough at first because I was in denial. Like I said, I was one of these housewives that I didn't pay for nothing. I didn't have to do the light bills. And now sometimes I miss because I forget because I'm not used to doing it. So ladies, if you're married or single, whatever, just know everything. Don't depend on your husband. And I know husbands are good, but you need to know everything, everything. So yeah. I can say.
Oh, just real quick. I know Faith was like, y'all haven't mentioned the greatest asset of all. So for all of you, you can always reach out to the Alzheimer's Association and 1-800-272-3900. It is staffed by master's level clinicians. So there is no situation that they have not encountered. The phone number is at the bottom of the sheets that we passed out to you. Yes, ma'am.
never grieved before. And so I'm noticing this stuff, so I'm sharing with my sister. My sister is totally denied. Yes. Total. I had to force her to do the medical, there with mom. You need to be on the thing that decision. I don't care what you say. I don't care. You get on there because you're there, because you're gonna be one closer. But depression is a big part of this as well. And also the heart medicine, they had her on this dose of this stuff. Mine was like shocked. And so Debbie was like, where in the world? But once they took her off, the normalcy started coming back. So now I'm still questioning that she still has the dementia. I'm still saying that. She's ready to find. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. So I'm glad you gave me 10 signs because I do see some of it. But I just want to know, you think I'm on the right track? And just kind of saying, we're going to do this and go close. It is hard. We have some more questions in the back here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so I don't think any of us up here are doctors. So, yeah, so I think that's a conversation that you have to have with probably your neurologist and and be honest and frank with your neurologist. And that brings up, that's one of the questions that was out there is it was something about fear of contracting the disease. So I don't think that there's any science or research that points in that direction that I'm aware of, but we do have a doctor here, so I will defer to him.
Hold on, she's gonna get you the mic. Wait.
I'm the Emeritus Associate Dean from Dell Medical School. Yet, it is possible, but almost none of the drugs that we have that are currently approved will cause Alzheimer's. They just won't, nor cause persistent dementia. On the other hand, we find that there's some of the recreational drugs. There's some evidence that they do, especially meth and some of the other drugs, will cause persisting problems. One of the common drugs that causes memory loss is called benzodiazepine, Valium, and so forth. And a lot of people will take them irrespective, knowing that, because it makes you feel good. So yes, cognitive impairment is common with many of these drugs. Read the package insert when you get the medication with your physician. Many times forget to tell it to you.
Yeah.
But the good news is that it's almost always reversible. If we find that the medication, you can have Alzheimer's and have medications that cause memory loss. So just because you feel a little better once you got these medications, it's the Alzheimer's process is still going to continue.
Yeah.
And yes, depression, especially in African Americans, misdiagnosed sometimes as Alzheimer's. And one of the earliest signs, unfortunately, Alzheimer's is depression.
And while we're talking about drugs and drug therapy, I do want to, I just attended an Alzheimer's conference, and there are, beginning last summer, last July, some of you may have heard this in the news, that there was a new drug, Aduhelm or aducanumab, that was introduced. It was the first drug that was shown to fight the underlying biology of Alzheimer's, and there have been a couple of additional drugs, lecanemab and some other drugs introduced that have been FDA approved. And so that speaks to the importance of early detection, because those drugs are for the early stage. So that is why it's important that if you see something, get to your doctor quickly and get in a study, because once you go past the early stage, then you no longer qualify to be in the study for the early testing or of these drugs. The other thing is write your congressperson, because the Congress has although these drugs have been approved by the FDA, they are not being covered by Medicare. So there is still a fight to get drug coverage, so that it doesn't cost you, what is it, like $1,000 a month to have access. $26,000 a month to have drug coverage. So yes. I'm-
I think that
early onset to older onset, it can be disguised. And I had a family member going to the doctor and they said, oh, it's menopause, it's brain fog. So be careful to use that blanket term of brain fog. And also take a family member with you so that you have someone else there, because, you know, even being in the healthcare industry, short appointments, quick in and out, you know, okay, you know, be persistent and advocate for your family member, your loved one, go to appointments with them, and it's very, very challenging, because it is a lot of appointments, a lot of follow-up, different medications. But yes, if you notice those things, any of the warning signs, stress, it can also be linked to stress, or, you know, oh, maybe something post-traumatic stress disorder. I had a family member that had a lot of traumatic events happen, so I thought it was possibly like, well, this is some form of experience, and now it's COVID and all of that and the stress. But of course, being persistent, going to appointments and getting a second opinion, because I did all of that. So it is very, very challenging. And one big challenge I found is that there's a lot of resources out there to get the information, but what I have found to be beneficial is like having a navigator, because you get a lot of information and you need really someone to say, okay, this is the most important thing that you need to do. And there are not a lot of resources for African Americans or those that are diagnosed with early onset. You know, you hear about there's adult daycare, there's this, there's that, but there's issues with transportation. So it's just a lot of stuff. It seems that there's limited resources, a lot of information, but not as many resources for people of color.
And one of the things I want to do too for the people online, we only mentioned two of the signs, so I want to make sure that they know that, and I'm just going to go through them quickly so they'll know what they are for the people who are online. The 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's and memory loss, that disrupts daily life. That's number one. Number two, challenges in planning or solving problems. Number 3, difficulty completing familiar tasks. Example, difficulty organizing a grocery list. Number 4, confusion with time or place. Example, losing track of dates, seasons, and the passage of time, like maybe missing your spouse's birthday or not remembering the anniversary. Trouble understanding visual spaces, trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Example, problems judging distance, which may cause trouble with driving. Number 6, new problems with words in speaking or writing. Example, calling everyday objects by the wrong name. My sister's handwriting has changed. She had beautiful penmanship. Her handwriting has changed and she even misses a letter or she writes words and syllables now. Number 7, misplacing things and losing the ability to retract steps. Number 7, example, leaving keys in unusual places and having no idea how they got there, like in the refrigerator. Number 8, decreased or poor judgment. Example, making bad decisions when dealing with money. My friend's father would go and almost buy a car every week. Number 9, withdrawal from work or social activities. Example, losing interest in a favorite hobby. Number 10, changes in mood or personality. Example, becoming easily upset when out of one's comfort zone. So that's the 10 warning signs. Well, one thing I'll say, and then I'll pass it to Mary. I know that, for example, like you mentioned, not knowing how to put on your clothes and things like that. One really good thing to do is cut pictures out of a magazine, and you can tape the picture of socks on the drawer. You can put pictures on the refrigerator. You can put pictures so it's symbols. And that's one of the things you can do to help people identify certain things that they may have forgotten what objects are.
What was the question? Identifying the. To get help. Yeah. And support groups. I had people around me that helped because I was trying to do it all by myself. So I didn't put any signs up or anything because I didn't know that. I was just doing a day to day. But if you can get some type of help, someone to come in or a friend just to sit for a couple of hours, because the caregiver has to take care of herself, he or she, and you can't take care of that sick person if you are not well. So if you can get help, then you need to get help. I was fortunate, my husband was a veteran, so I had help. I had people that came in, and then when he went on hospice, they were there 24/7. So I had help. You have to get help. You know, someone has to come in and help your friend that's not remembering, whether it be someone from your church or your social group or bingo group. You have to get help. And there's plenty of help that doesn't cost anything. She's into that. But I just know you can't do it by yourself. I tried, and for several years I tried to do it by myself. And my hair was falling out, and I was a mess, y'all. I was a total mess. And just in the last couple of months, I'm beginning to feel more like Mary, and they can attest to that. I'm happy now. I wasn't happy 2 months or 3 months ago. I was depressed. I was just a mess. So once you get some help, and I'm just telling my personal experience, but you need help. You have to get someone to help you. I don't care who it is. You can't do it by yourself. You have to have help. Don't you gonna go crazy, and they're gonna be taking care of two, you and the person that's ill.
And there is such thing as caregiver burnout and stress. And statistically, oftentimes the caregiver dies before the person with the disease. So getting that help And you can get respite care through the Alzheimer's Association. So again, the number, the 1-800-272-3900, call and they can arrange for respite care. And I just want to speak to the only children long distance caregivers out there. Stay strong, my friends. I drove, weekends, every weekends for 5 years to help take care of my dad. I had no choice. I was the only child. It was me and my mom. And so you do what you have to do, but still you need that help in order to take care of. And in my case, it was my dad that I was having to help take care of. And so, but yes, you have to enlist. What they call it is that circle of care. And even if it's, like you said, like a church group, get the schedule. If you're leading up, schedule the time, 2-hour blocks of time as to who can do what. You have to have that that care.
And one other thing real quickly is having a routine. That's very important. Having a routine. Whatever you do, try to do the same thing at the same time every day.
They are still your grandmother or grandfather. And so this is the time to, I always say, take out the scrapbook, but now you take out your phone and reminisce and share those memories, because those are the things that they remember too. And just because, and that's another thing, you are now in their world. So it's okay if the sky is green and the grass is blue today. It just is. Go with it, enjoy it. Yeah, walk in the park with that knowledge. And tomorrow it might be blue skies and green grass, but today it's green skies and blue grass. And that's okay, because, God willing, the sun will come out tomorrow and you'll have another opportunity to reminisce about another time when you were 5 and rode on the back of daddy's tractor, so to speak. So Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So we do have the doctor in the house, but so I guess the answer is, with testing, as we know, when you go to your primary care physician, if they are going to, at a certain age, of course, when you turn 65 and the Medicare kicks in, they're going to ask you, okay, I'm going to tell you 5 things. Remember these 5 things at the end of our conversation. And that's the first kind of clue, right? Is when they start that. But then there's the earlier onset. And so the question becomes, if you know you're going to have it, what are you going to do with that information? And you just gave the right answer, is I'm going to prepare. I'm going to have my documents in order, because I already know I don't want to drop this burden. I'm going to save money so that I have long-term care insurance, and and I'm going to prepare as if I am going to have it. So if you can test for it, or even if you don't, prepare as if you are, then you'll be prepared for it, and you'll be financially and mentally prepared for it, because you'll be putting yourself in a position to be in the place you want to be and not burdening your family, because that was what you said you did not want to have happen. Now, as far as other tests, I'll defer to the doctor because that involves MRI imaging and CAT. Okay.
There's two blood tests that are now out there, very predictive. The problem is that we now know that 50% of birds in Alzheimer's, it's not clear enough whether or not the person is at risk. If you intervene early, we prevent the emergence. So that's, and that I think that's fine. But right now, there are two suggested tests that can be used that seems right now to show strong probability of that. They just got approved like I think a month ago.
Okay. Okay.
Can you say that one more time, please? On APO 3-4, that's the genetic marker.
Yeah, the problem is that it's not too fast. Right. All studies from African Americans don't show the same kind of
Genetic risk factors. Okay.
Just one last question, before we wrap this up. Medicaid, Medicare, FMLA, Melanie, can you kind of give us some insight on what's best?
Well, that it's not what's best. It's because at that level you don't really have a choice, right? Either you qualify for Medicaid, you have to be at a basically an impoverished level in order to qualify for that. So the conversation we're having here is, the point is that Medicare does not cover it does not cover activities of daily living stays other than the first like 20 days or so. So in essence, 5 minutes, in essence, it does not cover nursing home care. So unless you have recovering from an injury, a broken leg or hip replacement, you can't fix, there's no brain recovery, so to speak, right? So it's a matter of, well, you're having trouble dressing, bathing, caring for yourself. Medicare does not cover caring for yourself, those activities of daily living. Medicaid will cover that, but you have to get to the point to be eligible for Medicaid. And that's a whole nother conversation. We don't have that kind of time right now.
And I have one friend that she had to take everything out of her name and everything, and to apply for Medicaid, you have to be dirt poor, basically, if you know what I mean. So I'm just saying, prepare. Yes. So yes.
Any last comments, please?
Yes, there is an evaluation too that can be done for Alzheimer's. Also, make sure that you talk to your primary physician and ask your primary physician and let them know what's happening and what you're seeing in your family member, and ask them if they can recommend for you a specialist where your loved one can go and be evaluated and get an endocrinologist or another doctor who can actually provide the level of care that you will need to know where your loved one really is in the process of the disease.
Excellent. You give these ladies a hand. Thank you so much. Here, I know that there was still some hands up. We weren't able to get to everybody. I want to thank everybody for attending. I appreciate you so much. If you have not completed the QR code or take a picture of the QR code for for the session, if you need CEUs, we have that back in the back. And also make sure that you turn in or you take a picture of the QR code for the surveys, because you're able to get a $25 gift card. It's a chance to win a $25 gift card on that. Okay? I think we're done. Y'all have a wonderful day. I look forward to seeing you. Real quick, St. James Missionary Baptist Church is doing a virtual learning dementia Oh, we're coming in, so we gotta.
Leave it right there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.